So I'm an Avalanche survivor. I've been buried by a large Class 3 with Alford and a lot of people that are around. I got motivated into this for an assortment of very big Avalanche exposures, watching a big Class 4 kill a couple people on Eagles. I've seen it all over and over and over again. So as much as the snowmobile culture has to adapt, the snowmobile public has to be willing to sit down and get educated, and the Avalanche community needs to be willing to develop a good quality product for them that's sufficient for what they're doing. And for me, calling the pot kettle black, there's an issue with both. And right now, I see the snowmobile culture adapting to the changing conditions, and I don't see the Avalanche culture, except for maybe like a program like ARI. And you know, the crossover that I like to use is driving. So your dad didn't give you a Ferrari and said, figure out how to drive downtown Seattle. You know, you went down a gravel road, you pushed on the gas pedal, you pushed on the brake. It's a graduated process, and it's not just getting a license and doing your entry-level Avalanche course. You don't go downtown Seattle and said, okay, I learned the brake and the gas, I'm good to go. But when do you actually learn what a stop sign is? And nature gives us all those signs. And our culture is on its infancy of starting to really mountain ride. So the technology's increased so drastically, and the interest in the sport that people are following track, let alone the machine, and disappearing deep into the backcountry in higher hazards than we ever have before. So all the mountain riders that want to say that, you know, I've been doing this for years and years, they haven't been on one of those. And there hasn't been, you know, 50,000 new people pushing into a piece of area or terrain that existed 10 years ago. That technology and that attitude and culture didn't exist. Now it does. When you go out in the backcountry and you're a long-term guy like myself, and you're looking across the ridge watching 3 or 4 guys shoot up a face going, well, man, you know, like, oh, they just missed that rock. Ooh, they just, you know, just come close to dying right there. And, you know, there's 40-year Avalanche vets that mentor me into my 20-year position that will tell you right off the bat, there's no such thing as an Avalanche professional. First and foremost is you must have an open mind to learning, and you must have an open mind to admitting mistake and fault inside your group. This isn't ego. When it comes down to the Avalanche problem, drop your ego, because it don't care. If you were to pick up the last 5 years of Avalanche fatalities in Canada and read them, and you look at the snowmobile fatalities, I would go like, I knew that guy. I've been doing this sport for 20 years. I knew that guy, I knew that guy, and I knew that accident. I was a part of that accident. And you look at the mistakes that are made, and they're so simple. They're so simple to fix. You keep traveling through Avalanche terrain, what's above me, what's below me, what happens if it slides? Just accept the fact that there's a hazard. So the great thing about snowmobiling is we can space ourselves out, and we can look long-range distances, but people don't understand how to identify the hazard and how to space it. They don't understand what avalanche terrain is. And you can have avalanche terrain, right, and have a perfect snowpack on it. You can climb it all day long. It's a package deal. If you don't understand the snowpack and you don't understand the terrain, you have the majority of snowmobiling right now. And where sledders need to be is understand their group habits, understand the traveling and terrain and working together is an important factor of it, understanding the terrain shape and what sort of terrain avalanches like to frequent on, and then as well as understand the snowpack. Now, understanding the snowpack is when you can actually climb it or not. So at this point, you can use terrain to avoid the avalanche problem to the best of your ability. If you want to climb on avalanche terrain, that's where you really need to increase your knowledge. Snowmobilers, in some ways, need to be a lot like a ski guide. You know, they're traveling north, east, west aspects. They're traveling, you know, in the alpine, below tree line. Snowpack's different from every ridge to every ridge, and all a forecast system does is give you a general overview of what's going on in the area. You as a user, especially snowmobiling, have to interpret that and be able to use it to your advantage to protect yourself. Knowledge is prevention. And, you know, all these companies for years, transceiver, probe, and shovel. You don't want nothing to do with that. You need to know how to use it. You need to have good, high-quality gear, but you need to know how to prevent being caught in an avalanche. You don't want to play the Russian roulette game. Oh, the transceiver was broken, or somebody had a cell phone on. There's all this information people must know. Like, oh, I hear like airplane mode, put it over to the side of your pocket, or cell phones, Wi-Fi in your GoPros. Like, there's just so much knowledge that needs to be handed over, and it can either be handed over through culture or through avalanche classes, and then the quality of the content of that class needs to be on par as well. And people are getting entry-level education and being okay, I know enough to do what I'm doing. I'm going to tell you right now, you don't. being a survivor myself, it's I'll tell you exactly what it's like to die in an avalanche, and all the cute little things you think about, like your mom, your dad, your girlfriend, whoever else is there in your head. That's all goes over your head. You don't care about your own death. You care about what you did to your family members. I still don't know enough. I'm always willing to learn, but after being buried and coming back, my friends being some of the upper echelons of the snowmobile community have high risk tolerances. I was terrified the majority of my time back in the field that every 20-degree slope was going to kill me. And most people don't even understand the risks they're taking, so ignorance is bliss. Everywhere I go, it's intense how many near-miss stories exist out there. It's so crazy. You know, you have to understand snowpack to make good quality decisions, and you just have to be open to learning. It just doesn't happen in 2 days. And the majority of what's being rammed out there to our community right now is get an avalanche course. It's not just one. To my personal opinion, in the Canadian program, where 80% of snowmobilers need to be for what they're doing is in a level 2 program. Take it for what it's worth though, eh? Like I log 100 and some days a season out here, and I've dug dead people out. I've almost died myself, and it's just, you know, I'm a safety ward. And I'm riding off 150-foot logs. Like, I'm not a safety ward, I'm a risk manager. The question is, for a lot of people that are out here, ignorance is bliss, and they're all okay with the risk. They have a daughter at home, they have a mother, a father, you know, all those sorts of things. Those are the people that you're gambling with. Their hearts is what you're gambling with. So if you go out there and die, I really think you should consider how they're gonna feel, first and foremost. Does it happen to me? You know, I got a dad left and some family, and they pick up the news, and when you live in Revelstoke, and, avalanche victim. You know, in my head, I know exactly what they think every time. Well, I wonder if it's him. Can it happen to me again? You're damn right it can. You know, I can make a mistake. I can make a bad judgment call on a risk, and I'll pay the ultimate consequence. And all I can tell my family is know that I did 110%. I educated myself well enough, and if I make that mistake, it's a mistake that I made. Not somebody else for me, not anybody else. I'm at fault for it. But the funny thing is, like, coming back from where I've been, is you can do this sport so safe, and you can have so much fun and minimize your risk drastically. You know, take it from 100% risk down to 20%, just with some knowledge. You've been in this sport a long time, all of a sudden you got 10 dead friends. Starts ringing true. But for anybody getting into the sport or been in the sport 5 or 6 years, never seen anything bad happen, what the hell do they know? What does it matter? That's $500 for a course, $300 for a course. Well, I should get this airbag and a transceiver probe and shovel. It's a package deal. It comes with education, it comes with rescue gear. People live because they're rescued. I'm one of them, luckily enough, so I share that message. Sometimes I think as riders, promoting via social media and through these things, you know, TV shows like this, like, that's got to be changed in our culture. The fact that the way the machines are today and where we're headed, it don't take much. It doesn't take much to jump on a new sled and have the skill to be in high hazard situations that you really don't understand how to manage. But you go to somebody that's really educated with a lot of seat time and understanding about how to manage the terrain on a snowmobile, they're going to teach you exactly what they know and reduce that risk to you from what they've experienced. And there's an assortment out there throughout North America that can offer you that. It's few and far between in our industry. Like I said, don't buy a Sanyo over a Panasonic if you expect quality. And that's just me being real. Like, anybody else out there and anybody I offend by saying that, too bad. Step up to the plate. You know, like, make your course better. Be open to learning and adjusting your course for the quality content that you're teaching someone else. My biggest fear is to have a student die. And that eventually is going to sneak down my throat, and I'm going to have to live with it. There's no respect going on for the backcountry right now. So the backcountry hasn't humbled them. And I get that, you know, because it just, #nothing ever happens. But when you're an experienced guy and you're sitting on a ridge top and you're watching people move through terrain and make decisions and you're just going, whoa, Like, whoa, that was close. Whoa, they didn't even recognize that. Like, oh, they got away with it. They don't have a clue. If they would have went 10 feet over to the left, they would have hit the thin part of the snowpack and triggered a faceted avalanche to ground, and it would have wiped out the 5 guys underneath them. When we go push big terrain into a Zippermouth Creek or any of that stuff, it's about a team effort. It's about having 5 guys that can have the conversation with you. Well, what do you think about that slope? Well, you know, the wind's loading it this way, or the wind's loading it that way. Well, there's a bunch of fresh snow, like, is it worth it? Like, you have to have the knowledge to add to the conversation so it's a group decision. And that's what we've learned over the years, is that everybody's opinion counts in our group. When we go push those sorts of terrain features and push into areas, we think, we pre-plan. There's a trip plan. We look at the avalanche conditions. We take in as much information as you can. That's what's great about a bulletin. You know, I head to the lower 48 in Alaska and maybe set for a couple states. Their bulletin systems are nowhere near close what Canada's system is, and you feel naked going out there. That's when you start wanting to dig holes, you know? You want to get your sled stuck, pull it out, look at the snowpack, understand the snowpack. Where Canada's got this really aggressive bulletin system with good, high-quality information, you're crazy not to understand it and use it to your advantage out here. And you trip plan where you're going. You got to be willing to back out of pieces of terrain that you don't feel comfortable with. And it's amazing, absolutely boggles my mind, more people don't die. And the death tolls are already quite high. And the question in the professional realm is, well, is it snowpack for the year, over the years? Or is awareness or education working? Have some humility to what you're educating and openness to change that content or curriculum to match what the sport's doing. And you know, it's not hard. The majority of snowmobiling is blue-collared workers. We don't learn theory. We learn hands-on in the field. You know, that's been taught in H2S classes, fall at rest classes. They've looked at that, how you teach a welder or a carpenter. And you know, a lot of what I look at going around are these theory-based educational processes. And it just doesn't, there's no retention. If there's no application of knowledge, there's no retention. So what's great about kind of what ARI's been doing is they're looking at their content or their curriculum, and curriculum being, you know, 4 parts: the student, the teacher, the environment it's taught in, and the content that's taught. And well, we're working with Avalanche Canada to better their program. You know, it's got to match what we're doing, and we have to be willing as a culture to adapt the education that they're giving and be willing to intake it to prevent being caught in slides. That's really where it starts. You don't want to play the rescue game. You know, if I leave somebody that watches this with a message that I push into my clients that I teach, what's above me, what's below me, what happens if it slides? If you can start answering those 3 questions at all times when you're riding out there, you'll start learning to manage it. And the next one is, as harsh as this might sound, if you bury more than 2 people, you've really screwed up. Because on a snowmobile, you don't have to risk more than 2 people. You know, traveling habits and hazard recognition, stop putting a line over somebody's head. There's a backcountry etiquette. It's like going to a golf course. You know, you don't stand on the tee box and start whacking balls when somebody's 5 feet down the fairway. And I come in, I was there today, I was in an area today where they got this big north aspect and a south aspect, and they feed into this gut, and there's no safe place to watch from the bottom, but yet there's like 5 or 6 people piled up in the bottom watching their buddy climb into the start zone where you would trigger an avalanche. So if the avalanche does come down, now all 5 people that were there to respond to the avalanche that the guy triggered are now in the same thing. If I give them any message, it's just get an education. And then pick a quality education. Get off your wallet. Like, oh, it's too expensive. Sure, you'll buy an avalanche airbag. Why? Because all the pros are wearing it? Like, why are you buying it? Like, people come to my class without the canister in the thing. They don't expose the trigger. Like, what do you understand what you're doing? Understand what you're purchasing. Understand that the knowledge that's needed to do this sport isn't minute. Everybody involved, avalanche world or the snowmobile world, needs an open mind to learning how to manage the problem. That's where it completely starts. If they can adjust that mentality, then we're winning and moving forward. And I'll tell you what, like guys like myself or a lot of my riding buddies have learned, is that nature don't care. So you should be humbled. You dig out a couple dead guys and you dig out your best buddy who's blue in the face and he's barely alive, it'll change you.